Tuesday, May 26, 2026. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful. Tonight we cover escalating global tensions, domestic policy shifts under President Trump, and troubling cultural issues at home. After such a long weekend. Boy, we've got a lot to cover. Don't really have any massive, insightful teachings or responses for after we go through the daily Torment report. So today I think we're going to spend most of our time playing catch up because basically 4 days of information we got to catch up on. So we're going to try and do it as quick as possible. And if we have any extra time, then maybe we'll address some comments. We haven't done that in a while. I know I got one for Wayne that I've been meaning to get back to in regards to Cain and the seed of the serpent. So until we get to that, let's get into the news. Let's go back all the way to Saturday evening. Shots were fired near the White House. A 21-year-old man named Nasir Best approached a Secret Service checkpoint at 17th and Pennsylvania Avenue. He pulled a handgun and opened fire. You know, it's an example of, what we believe affects what it is that we do. We're seeing this uprise of especially young individuals who are getting radicalized somewhere with information from something. What is it that's causing these people to get so radicalized that they feel that they need to do something that's irreversible? I liken this to why it's important to understand what it is that you believe. We should have a methodology and a desire for truth, to lead us to a higher calling so that we love one another rather than seeking out having to remove somebody. It's such a shame what happened. Officers returned fire, hitting him. He later died at the hospital. A bystander was wounded, but it is in stable condition. No Secret Service personnel or White House staff were hurt. President Trump was inside, and he was unharmed. Best had a prior arrest for trying to breach White House grounds and a history of mental health issues. Officials call it an isolated incident by an emotionally disturbed individual. The investigation continues. Trump praised the Secret Service and renewed calls for stronger security, obviously. This marks the third recent gunfire incident near the White House. The big international story, moving on now to Iran and regional tensions. So the big international story remains that the U.S. and Iran situation. President Trump says a peace deal is largely negotiated. My sources said this weekend that we were there, so I got a little excited, jumped the gun, and tweeted out and posted that a deal had been reached, and I'm wondering if we aren't looking at for when they say peace and safety, and lo and behold, we're not there. Trump has told negotiators not to rush. Time is on our side. He posted the naval blockade stays in place until a solid agreement is signed. This was back on the weekend. Key issues include Iran's nuclear program, reopening the Strait of Hormuz without tolls, and clearing mines. Iran wants $12 billion in frozen assets released as a precondition. Recent U.S. self-defense strikes hit Iranian missile sites and boats near Bandar Abbas. Trump is pushing hard for Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, and others to join the Abraham Accords. This was a new deal that he posted out this weekend. As part of any deal, he says Iran joining would be something special. This is why I'm thinking we might be getting close to for when they say peace and safety. A Trump ally reports Saudi Crown Prince, MBS, is open to recognizing Israel, but faces obstacles from his father. This comes amid Khamenei's fiery rhetoric threatening U.S. bases and claiming Israel near its cursed demise. Skepticism is high. Iran, Russia, and China have broken promises before, so we'll be watching that closely. Moving on to the Ukraine. Ukraine is still under attack. Russia launched one of its heaviest assaults yet on Kiev this past weekend. Around 90 missiles and 600 drones in one night. This was the third use of the nuclear-capable Oreshnik hypersonic missile. At least 4 are dead. Nearly 100 are wounded. Damage hit residential buildings, schools, a shopping center, the National Art Museum, Philharmonic Hall, and even a new Chernobyl museum. Ukrainian defenses intercepted most, but saturation attacks still cause real damage. Zelensky is calling for stronger allied support. These repeated barrages strain Ukraine's defenses and civilians. This war attrition phase continues. Moving on to domestic policy with immigration and infrastructure. The Trump administration announced a major change. Migrants on temporary visas, including students and workers, must generally return home to apply for a green card instead of adjusting status here. The goal is to reduce overstays and focus USCIS resources on priorities like crime victims and naturalization. Exceptions will be case by case. In Congress, the GOP-led House advanced the Build America 250 Act, which is a $580 billion highway and infrastructure bill. It includes new annual fees on electric vehicles, $130, rising to $150 to cover road wear, since EVs don't pay gas taxes. It also boosts rail safety after East Palestine and creates rules for autonomous vehicles. Let's see. Trump is gaining ground against Senate holdouts. Key allies of Majority Leader John Thune face retirement or tough primaries. Trump endorsed challengers like Ken Paxton against John Cornyn in today's Texas runoff. Polls show that Paxton is leading. This could shift the Senate toward more Trump-aligned members after midterms. Priorities include the SAVE Act for voter ID and reconciliation funding for border security. Regarding a more sensitive issue, assisted suicide expansion, this is a warning. Several U.S. states are pushing. Where is that noise coming from? There we go. Several U.S. states are pushing assisted suicide laws similar to Canada's. Eesh. We must call this for what it is, state-sanctioned killing. Once legalized, it's hard to reverse. People aren't always allowed to change their minds. In Canada, reports show pressure on the depressed, poor, and even children. This is not compassion. It is a dangerous slope. We need to protect the vulnerable, not offer death as a solution. In other news, NOAA, N-O-A-A, predicts a below-normal Atlantic hurricane season thanks to El Nino. Still prepare. One storm can still cause a lot of havoc. California chemical tank emergency in Garden Grove appears stabilized after evacuations. There's a magnitude 6.9 earthquake hit northern Chile. There was minimal damage, no tsunami. And anti-Israel protesters in Montreal paraded, hanged effigies of Trump and Netanyahu. Obviously, outrage followed. And Texas primary runoff is today, watching Paxton versus Cornyn. So, quick fact check. Claims about a huge slush fund for January 6 insurrectionists doesn't hold. No one charged with insurrection qualifies. And standards were applied unevenly under the prior administration. Medicaid reforms target fraud, able-bodied non-workers, and illegal immigrants, not core vulnerable populations. So we stand for truth here. We stand for life and common sense. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now let's move over to the Daily Torment Report, where we follow the posts of the two men who are standing before the Lord of the whole earth. They're speaking truth on a daily basis. They're protecting our freedoms. And as a result, they're tormenting half of the world. Let's get into it.
Through shadows deep, through bitter years, I see your strength, I see your tears, the weight of loss, the trials fire, still you rise, reaching higher. They pressed you down, they closed you in, but you endured, you would not bend. Through fleeting wealth and fleeting pain, you held your ground, you bore the strain. Hold on, the dawn will break. Through every storm, through every ache, though the world may take its toll, they can't touch your unbroken soul.
All right, picking it up with Donald Trump. So we're going way, way back on his timeline here. He didn't actually post that much. Elon Musk, I think, posted more. If I got it correct, I think yesterday he posted 52 posts. So we got a lot to get through, suffice it to say. So I'm going to skip some of the ones that we would normally watch. I'm going to try to stick to stuff that is pertinent, like that's, truth-based, less opinion, more about, what could potentially qualify as prophecy. So, or that's just funny. We all need to laugh at a time like this. So, picking up where we left off on Trump's timeline. Oh, we got no audio. Where's my audio? There we go. That's why we turned off the audio, because of the YMCA copyright. All right. Anyway, moving on. So this is Saturday. China loves Trump. He likes posting that. We got, what is that? Sleazebag Ro Khanna. Lies, lies, lies. Boy, look at that. That is graphic. Vampire, gold chains, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Oh, no, he's a wolf, not a vampire. So he's a wolf in sheep's clothing with fistful of money. Don't allow this line sleazebag on Fox News. Boy, tell me how you really feel, sir. United States of the Middle East. It's funny. I was talking to my family this weekend that with the way that Donald Trump has been going into these different countries and just making changes, and he's talking about adding everybody to the United States, we still have time. So we're only on we're almost on day 500, right? If Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the two witnesses, and if the counting goes based on when he took office, January 20th, 2025, we're on day 500. So he still has just under 1,000 days left. There's time for him to continue to go into these countries and maybe bring them into a one government system. So, what if he is building the United countries of the world or something like that? We know from Revelation 13 that we go from a democratic beast from the sea to a beast from the land, which is more like a kingdom. He may very well be setting that up. And all it's going to take is for him to get it situated, get peace everywhere, everybody in agreement, and then that would be the motive for them to take him out, right? So that somebody could come in and take control of that system. Now, what's interesting, though, is based on the timeline, this year is looking really good for the opening of SEAL Number 6, which is likely when the Messiah returns, right before the rotation of the earth. So either Trump continues here after Jesus comes and gathers the elect together, or we've got more time before that happens. It may be that it's closer to, because I believe the 1,260 days ends roughly around. So we have a couple different candidates here. Seal number 6. So the two witnesses. So this is 1,260 days from October 7th. So that would be the Al-Aqsa flood. This one is from October 14th. Oops. So it would most likely be this one. So July 3rd, 2028. That's 1,260 days from January 20th. So he's got time. And that's pretty close to the end of his term. If they do end up proving, here's the thing, if they end up proving that he was, that the election was stolen, and say they get a largely Republican Senate and Congress or House, could there be a possibility for him to do a third term? That might be enough motivation for them to do what it is that we know they do to the two witnesses. So I don't know. Best we can do is sit back and observe, but it's very interesting. Like when he posts things like this, he's done the same thing with Venezuela, with Cuba, with Canada. I mean, clearly he's trolling, but what if he's not? That's kind of what I'm wondering. Like, it's so interesting to sit back and watch these things take place. All right. So here he is shaking China's hands. Hello, Greenland. And then there's Greenland. Indeed. All right, we're going to skip the articles. We're going to skip the restoration taking place in Washington, even though it is really beautiful. All right, Trump on TikTok, 400 billion all-time views. Well done. Missing the Hulk, the huckster. All right, what do we got here? So this is a post from M.A. Rothman on August 1st, 1960. President Dwight D. Eisenhower received a letter from a trusted citizen named Leon Scott. Mr. Scott asked Eisenhower why he had a picture of Robert E. Lee in his office. This was Eisenhower's response to Mr. Scott. Respecting your August 1st inquiry, calling attention to my often expressed admiration for General Robert E. Lee, I would say first that we need to understand that at the time of the war between the states, the issue of succession had remained unresolved for more than 70 years. Men of probity, can't read it when it's that slimy. Men of probity, character, public standing, and unquestioned loyalty, both North and South, had disagreed over this issue as a matter of principle from the day our Constitution was adopted. General Robert E. Lee was, in my estimation, one of the supremely gifted men produced by our nation. He believed unswervingly in the constitutional validity of his cause, which until 1865 was still an arguable question in America. He was a poised and inspiring leader, true to the high trust reposed in him by millions of his fellow citizens. He was thoughtful yet demanding of his officers and men, forbearing with captured enemies, but ingenious, unrelenting, and personally courageous in battle, and never disheartened by a reverse or obstacle. Through all his many trials, he remained selfless almost to a fault and unfailing in his faith in God. Taken altogether, he was noble as a leader and as a man, and unsullied as read the pages of our history. From deep conviction, I simply say this. A nation of men of Lee's caliber would be unconquerable in spirit and soul. Indeed, to the degree that present-day American youth will strive to emulate his rare qualities, including his devotion to this land as revealed in his painstaking efforts to help heal the nation's wounds once the bitter struggle was over. We, in our own time of danger in a divided world, will be strengthened and our love of freedom sustained. Such are the reasons that I proudly display the picture of this great American on my office wall. Sincerely, Dwight D. Eisenhower. And clearly Donald Trump has a similar admiration because he's reposting that. That's true. Strong men make for a strong country. If only we all had the same strengths, qualities, and character. The state of New York so this is from Lindsey Graham 3 days ago, so on Saturday. The state of New York, led by Governor Hochul, is pushing a policy that bars cooperation with ICE. Oh, retards. Senate Republicans cannot let this stand. New York is in open defiance of federal law by refusing to assist with the deportation of illegal immigrants. To me, that sounds like they've been conquered. That sounds to me like a state has been conquered, and they're refusing to participate in their obligations to this United States of America. Let's see, their policy choices are a magnet for future illegal immigration. New York's decision to continue sanctuary city policies harms the entire nation, and the politicians who support these measures should pay a price. I agree. Working with the Trump administration, I hope and expect that Senate Republicans and hopefully some Democrats will see the danger in New York's position to the country as a whole. I also hope we will again make an effort to pass my bill punishing sanctuary cities and states and the politicians who support them. Illegal immigration is not only an economic and crime issue, it is also a national security issue. We must push back vigorously against New York. Stay tuned. Agreed. Kind of makes you take a step back when you're looking at eschatology and you're wondering why there's so much time in between things. You got to allow for these shenanigans to take place and cause things to be repaired, I guess, and change. The same Dems and anti-Trumpers who are melting down over pardons now didn't say a word while Americans were getting buried under unjust prison sentences, financially destroyed, and politically targeted by a weaponized justice system. Funny how mercy suddenly matters now. I've watched prosecutors try to turn ordinary convictions into life-destroying sentences. I've watched families get crushed while the media shrugged because the defendants' politics made them easy to hate. Some were innocent, some were clearly overcharged. Many never stood a fair chance against the machine. Pardons and clemency exist because the system isn't perfect, and pretending otherwise is dangerous. That's what our latest weaponization watch piece is about. That's from Real Cynthia Hughes, reposted by Donald Trump. All right, what is this about?
I don't think people really understand how challenging it is to get a notoriously blue area like Palm Beach County to get on board with renaming the airport in the name of President Donald Trump. I know how hostile it is because I ran for Congress there. So why don't you just explain how this idea came to your mind and what the process was like renaming the airport?
Well, I have to start by saying, we're only as good as our village, and thank goodness I have a really good one, including my class in the Florida House, and our speaker and his chief of staff, and everybody who really.
All right, this just sounds like a bunch of fluff. I don't know how important it is. We got so much to cover, so let's just move on. So, Meg for Florida, we are only as good as a village, and I couldn't be more grateful for mine. The speaker, House members, and local officials all came together to honor real Donald Trump with the renaming of President Donald J. Trump Airport. This is a transformational win that will have a lasting impact on Palm Beach County and all of Florida. There you go. Save time. Moving on. Donald J. Trump calling. Montgomery hails Trump International Golf Links as the greatest 36 holes of links golf in the world. Okay. What is this? America sees a huge decline in crime thanks to Trump and Republicans. Yeah, I've been hearing this in more and more places, not just crime as a whole is just like crime and death and homelessness is down as well. Because of the reduction of the drugs flowing into our country. And the criminals are scared. Not only are they a lot of them being deported and removed, but they're also in hiding too. So a stark decline in crime indeed. All right. So this is still Saturday. He says, I'm in the Oval Office at the White House, where we just had a very good call with President Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan of the United Arab Emirates, Emir Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdullah Rahman bin Hassim bin Jaber Al Thani and Minister Ali Al Thawadi of Qatar. Ooh, mouthfuls. Field Marshal Saeed Asim Munir Ahmed Shah of Pakistan, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt, King Abdullah II of Jordan, and King Hamad bin Isa al Khalifa of Bahrain, concerning the Islamic Republic of Iran and all things related to a memorandum of understanding pertaining to peace. An agreement has been largely negotiated, subject to finalization between the United States of America, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the various other countries as listed separately. I had a call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, which likewise went very well. Final aspects and details of the deal are currently being discussed and will be announced shortly. In addition to many other elements of the agreement, the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. Oh, let's see. Birthright citizenship is suicide in our country. That's a quote from Mark Levin. The Shady Bunch. This is a bad, sick group of people, very destructive to our great nation, caused tremendous damage through weaponization. President Donald J. Trump. Samantha Power, Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett, James Comey, James Clapper, John Brennan, Barack Hussein Obama, Ben Hamas Rhodes, the Shady Bunch. Hilarious. Another post of China. Loves Trump. President Trump gets younger. What? Hardly. Adios. Let's see. More. Let's go fishing, America. I side with NGOs over science-based recreational fishery management. I don't care if the states can do it better. Environmentalists, DC court, yep. Returning power to the states. America first. All right, where we go from here up here. Okay. One of the worst deals ever made by our country was the Iran nuclear deal, put forth and signed into existence by Barack Hussein Obama and the rank amateurs of the Obama administration. It was a direct path to Iran developing a nuclear weapon. Not so with the transaction currently being negotiated with Iran by the Trump administration. The exact opposite, in fact. The negotiations are proceeding in an orderly and constructive manner, and I have informed my representatives not to rush into a deal, and that time is on our side. The blockade will remain in full force and effect until an agreement is reached, certified, and signed. Both sides must take their time and get it right. There can be no mistakes. Our relationship with Iran is becoming a much more professional and productive one. They must understand, however, that they cannot develop or procure a nuclear weapon or bomb. I would like to thank thus far all of the countries of the Middle East for their support and cooperation, which will be further enhanced and strengthened by their joining the nations of the historic Abraham Accords And who knows, perhaps the Islamic Republic of Iran would like to join as well. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Huh. From Trey Yinkst, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. Whoops, why do you keep zooming in like that? We are ready to assure the world that we are not seeking nuclear weapons. We are not seeking instability in the region. Cool. So somebody's finally stepping up. Is that what it seems like? All right. If I make a deal with Iran, it'll be a good and prosper one, not like the one made by Obama, which gave Iran massive amounts of cash, quite literally, and a clear and open path to a nuclear weapon. Our deal is the exact opposite, but nobody has seen it or knows what it is. It isn't even fully negotiated yet, so don't listen to the losers who are critical about something they know nothing about. Unlike those who, before me, who should have solved this problem many years ago, I don't make bad deals. True. Yeah, if this isn't a sign of the times, under the Biden administration, everything is gross and overgrown. Under the Trump administration, cleaned up and beautiful. A sign of things to come. All right. This is an endorsement. We'll read a little bit of it. It is my great honor to endorse Ty Masterson. Where's he? In Kansas. Yeah. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Well, that'll get your attention, all right. Big old bomb. All right, Dow Jones, another all-time high. Texas reminder, Ken Paxton was a great attorney general, probably the best in the country. He was also very loyal to your favorite president, me, as the Democrats played their ultimate game of weaponization and failed badly. I love Texas and won it all. Okay, yeah, so it's an endorsement. All right, the voice of a genius, of the great Dana White. Thanks, Dana.
For 250 years, this country has been defended by warriors. Men and women willing to go first, willing to take the risk, willing to do what others won't. We honor the warriors of the past, the pioneers who pushed into the unknown, who changed the way wars were fought, and helped shape the strength of a nation. We recognize the warriors of the present, the ones who carry that legacy right now. The people who show up every day, put in the work, and stand ready when this country needs them the most. And we look to the future, searching for the next ones ready to raise their hand, take that oath, and become part of something bigger than themselves. Because that fighting spirit doesn't belong to one generation. It gets passed down, earned, carried forward. This is a tribute to 250 years of American warriors and the ones who will carry that legacy into the future. Fly, fight, win.
Happy Memorial Day. That was pretty epic. Oh, man. You know, I keep thinking of that Revelation 13 about who was able to make war with him. You know, that keeps coming to my mind with what we're seeing right now. I laugh at all the Democrats, rhinos, and fools who know nothing about the potential deal I am making with Iran. Things that haven't even been negotiated yet. Weak and ineffective people like failed Senator Tom Tillis, soon out of office Bill Cassidy, who just suffered a massive primary loss. Really bad congressman. Congressman Thomas Massey, a major sleazebag who lost in a landslide to a great American patriot, endorsed by Trump, after showing tremendous disloyalty to his party and country. And almost all Democrats, people that have totally lost their way, constantly supporting bad policy and even worse candidates, but are constantly critical of each and every fantastic win I have. Fair. That's a fair point. These people should go home and rest. They do nothing but create division and loss. In other words, they are losers. The deal with Iran will either be a great and meaningful one, or there will be no deal. It will be the exact opposite of the JCPOA disaster negotiated by the failed Obama administration, which was a direct and open path to a nuclear weapon for Iran. No, I don't do deals like that. President Donald J. Trump. Fair point. Have you ever been with somebody who's just like constantly negative? You're trying to do great things. You're highly productive, working on things of value, and you've got somebody in your ear that's constantly critical. You're going to fail. That's never going to work. Nobody else has ever succeeded. It's just like there's so much of that in the world today to where people have no vision. Where there's no vision, the people perish. And Trump has a lot of vision. And it's the ones with no vision who are perishing. That's for sure. All right, I laugh all the time at the Democrats, rhinos, and fools who know nothing about the... Oh, did I just read this? I just read that. Yep. Happy Memorial Day to all, including the Democrats who disrespect our military and all of the tremendous success that it has had over the last year. God bless those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. I love you all. President Donald J. Trump. The Democrats have bad policy and bad candidates. Other than that, they're doing quite well. President Donald J. Trump. Ay. All right, what has he posted here? This is another lawsuit. What's this one about? Notice of supplemental authority in support of the government's motion for an indicative ruling dissolving the court's injunction. On Saturday night, May 23rd, a shooter once again sought to murder the president, his family, and his staff at the historic White House complex. We submit this urgent filing to update the court on a second attempted assassination on the president within a single month. Last night, shortly after 6 p.m., an armed assassin approached a White House security checkpoint near 17th Street in Pennsylvania Avenue, professionally pulled a high caliber gun from a bag and opened fire in the exact direction of the White House. Brave Secret Service officers returned fire. The gunman was killed, and an innocent bystander was seriously wounded in the shooting. Okay, next page. Second attack on the president this month underscores the critical need for top-level, state-of-the-art security at the White House, including the ballroom. Oh, how'd we guess? A knitted, unified, cohesive part of the East Wing project, which is vital for national security and is being constructed to ensure that the president can perform his constitutional duties in a safe and heavily secured facility. This court's unlawful injunction has wrongfully cast a cloud of uncertainty around the future of the entire East Wing project, which is being constructed for the physical safety and security of all presidents. Okay, you can figure where that's going from there. More legal jargon. The things you gotta do, man. Let's see, I laugh at all the Democrats, rhinos, and fools. We just read this again. This is a double post. We just read that. Happy Memorial Day. No, we just read that too. The Democrats. Okay, we just read that. Jeez, how many of these posts? Did he repost these? Oh, these are retruth. So he just retruthed them from one day to the next. All right. Mike, thank you for your nice words on Fox. We are on the same path. Keep up the great work. Good luck on the show, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, this here's the big post that I wanted to get to. All righty, let me get comfy. This one's going to take a while. Trying to pronounce all these names again. All righty, are you guys ready? Let's do this. Negotiations with the Islamic Republic of Iran are proceeding nicely. It will only be a great deal for all, or no deal at all. Back to the battlefront and shooting, but bigger and stronger than ever before. And nobody wants that. During my discussions on Saturday with President Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Saeed Al Naim From the United Arab Emirates, Amir Tamim bin okay, we know these names. I've already read them once before. It's 8 different countries, okay? Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Bahrain, so on and so forth. Alrighty, let's see. And Jordan, let's see. I stated that after all the work done by the United States to try and pull this very complex puzzle together, it should be mandatory that all of these countries, at minimum, simultaneously sign on to the Abraham Accords. Bum, bum, bum. Those countries discussed are Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, already a member, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Bahrain, already a member. It may be possible that 1 or 2 have a reason for not doing so, and that will be accepted, but most should be ready, willing, and able to make this settlement. With Iran, a far more historic event than it would otherwise be. The Abraham Accords have proven to be, for the countries involved, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, and Kazakhstan, a financial, economic, and social boom. Even during this time of conflict and war, with the current members never even suggesting leaving or taking so much as even a pause. The reason for this is that the Abraham Accords have been great for them and will be even better for everybody, and bring true power, strength, and peace to the Middle East for the first time in 5,000 years. It will be a document respected like no other that has ever been signed anywhere in the world. Its level of importance and prestige will be unparalleled. It should start with the immediate signing by Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and everybody else should follow suit. If they don't, they should not be a part of this deal, in that it shows bad intention. In speaking to numerous of the great leaders mentioned above, they would be honored as soon as our document is signed to have the Islamic Republic of Iran as part of the Abraham Accords. Wow. Now that would be something special. This will be the most important deal that any of these great, but always in conflict countries will ever sign. Nothing in the past or in the future will surpass it. Therefore, I am mandatorily requesting that all countries immediately sign the Abraham Accords, and that if Iran signs its agreement with me as President of the United States, it would be an honor to have them also part of this unparalleled world coalition. The Middle East would be united, powerful, and economically strong, like perhaps no other area anywhere in the world. By copy of this truth, I am asking my representatives to begin and successfully complete the process of signing these countries into the already historic Abraham Accords. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. So yeah, there's that. So it starts off as hey, it would be great if these guys joined, and ended with I'm going to make it mandatory. Let's just do it. Y'all need to join. We need peace. So this is when I was just like, okay, I think this was when I was just like, okay, or maybe this may have came out right after I made that post. I don't remember the order of events, but basically we were close to a deal, and then this came out, and I don't know if we're so close to a deal anymore. We'll see what's going to come up next. We are in good hands. Yeah. Your daily reminder. Let's negotiate. I will blow shit up. Let's negotiate. I will blow shit up. I will blow shit up. Let's negotiate. You guys see that? That's pretty good. Obama trying to negotiate. They're going to blow stuff up. That's not really accurate. I don't know if Biden was in his right mind. That should be one of his staffers with him in the background eating ice cream saying, let's negotiate. And then you got Donald Trump here. I will blow shit up. And then they're asking to negotiate. There you go. Pretty funny. Well, we opened up a new window. All right. What do we got here on this one? Let's see. Tariffs built America. Trump is 100% right from February 11, 2025. Dr. Savage live stream transcript. We are all hearing about tariffs today. Tariffs, and intuitively we say it's a good thing, but some people are saying, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's going to trigger a trade war. Why is the raising tariffs on aluminum and steel imports? What's going on? I don't know if we want to read this whole thing. I should have read it earlier. So this is just a transcript from a show talking about tariffs. It's not like legal documents or anything like that. Let's see. The Trump Tariff 2.0 crackdown on the shell game of using derivative products to evade tariffs. Countries like China, Russia, and others now ship semi-finished steel. Yeah, we're aware of all their shenanigans. That's your friend Zelensky. U.S. Let's see. Protections will make sure that there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide for the tariff of aiders. We're going to be stronger and we're going to be wealthier thanks to Donald Trump. I think that's really the point, is getting the economy fixed. And tariffs is a great way of doing that. I do believe that. All right, the enriched uranium, known as nuclear dust, will either be immediately turned over to the United States to be brought home and destroyed, or preferably in conjunction and coordination with the Islamic Republic of Iran, destroyed in place or at another acceptable location, with the Atomic Energy Commission or its equivalent being witness to this process and event. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. Happy birthday, America.
Good evening. All right, before I give my speech, I just got a call from a special guest who's on the line. Can you hear us, Mr. President?
I can't hear you. I love India. So I know you're there, and I hope you make a good speech. You have to be representative of our country, Sergio. But I just want to say hello to everybody. I love the Prime Minister. Modi is great. He's my friend. And I just want to say a very, very good evening to everybody. It's morning here and it's evening there. And I just want to say you're great. And we've never been closer to India. And India can count on me 100% and our country. If they ever need help, they know where to call. They call right here. We're doing well. We're setting records. We have a record economy, a record stock market, and anything India wants to get. And I'm a big, big fan of Prime Minister Modi.
Thank you, sir. Marco Rubio's here. Any advice for a great Secretary of State?
Well, Marco's the greatest. He's going down as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of the U.S. And it's good. When you have some big ones there, when you have Marco, Sergio, when you have Marco, you're getting the big stuff.
It's big.
That's very good. Well, Marco, go have a good time. I know you're going to represent us well, and everybody enjoy your evening. And it's an honor to talk and say hello to Prime Minister Modi. And let him know I'm a big fan.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Cool. President Trump called me tonight, had a clear message. I love Prime Minister Modi. We've never been closer to India. I'm a big, big fan of Prime Minister Modi. Yes, we got that. Happy Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day. Let's see, passed the Save America Act, voter ID, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots. Our pool is bigger than skyscrapers. 2,030 feet. Yes, it is. There you go. Trump's America in 2026. Yeah, that old picture of a white picket fence, the bicycle. There was the good old days. Some pride in your country. American flags posted everywhere. Meanwhile, Obama's Iran policy. Pallets of cash. Trump's Iran policy. Pew, pew. Pew, pew. All right, we'll skip the articles. Dealmaker in chief. Truth Social. I'm a lucky Texas vote for Ken Paxton, our country's best attorney general. Rhinos. So this is just a bunch of reposts of truths and articles and duplicates. Historian and far beyond that, Victor David Hansen is great. That's all I have to say. There's no further explanation needed. Fantastic, man. President Donald J. Trump. There you go. Peace through strength. The only president who knows how to fix the White House. That is pretty cool. You can tell he's a builder. You know what's interesting, though? You know what's so interesting about Trump and being a builder is Yeshua is a builder, too. Something about builders. They're producers. They value quality. They build things with their hands. They're not just directing. I've watched him evaluate things for just so many years. Just get out and look at stuff. He's definitely a man with vision. He certainly is a man with vision. Great job by Congressman Derek Van Orden of Fox News, a real pro. Just finished my 6-month physical at Walter Reed Military Medical Center. Everything checked out perfectly. Thank you to the great doctors and staff. Heading back to the White House. Teen takeover in Chicago. 5 officers were badly hurt. Mayor and governor are terrible. They should call for help. All right, what do we have here? So this is if Iran surrenders, admits their navy is gone and resting at the bottom of, this is another one of these, bottom of the sea, and the Air Force is no longer with us, and if their entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped and hands held high, each sound, this is just a repost. He's posted this a couple times before, just kind of mocking the fake news media, how it doesn't matter how big they win, the fake news media is just going to paint it as a loss. Highly respected Congressman Byron Donalds is running for governor in Florida. There's another endorsement. Based on the possible bad weather conditions tomorrow, we will be having our cabinet meeting in the White House and we'll be postponing the cabinet trip to Camp David. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. I was listening to BP Earthwatch. It seems like due to the El Nino, what's going on with the world, and this seems like it's a sign of our magnetic shields weakening, is longer summer, triple digits, potential blackouts, because apparently the water levels are low in some of the major power plants, the Hoover Dam and such. So that'll be interesting. Are we done? Yeah. Okay. Last one. Last post. That's about right. Took us about an hour to get through all that. It is critically important that the CFTC's exclusive authority over prediction markets is maintained and that they will thrive. Under my leadership, we are not setting rules of the road that are gold standard for the states. We cannot have scum like Chris Christie, Letitia James, Tim Waltz, and J.B. Pritzker setting the rules. Other countries are after this new form of financial market, and we want to remain at the top. Likewise, and even more importantly, where we are currently, the crypto Bitcoin capital of the world, and other countries are trying diligently to replace us in that capacity. But we won't let that happen. It is a major industry, and we must protect it. Mike Selig, CFTC chairman, and respected by all, is doing a great job. Thank you, Mike. President Donald J. Trump. I think that's it. There you go. That is everything from Donald Trump in just under an hour. Moving on to Elon. Oh, alrighty. So we pick up on May 22nd. They did a launch. There's a picture of it. Flight 10, Flight 11, Flight 12. Very nice. We need heat shields to protect us since we use the airflow to slow us down as we return to Earth. For yesterday's Starship suborbital test flight. Very nice. Photos of Elon Musk at Starbase Mission Control during yesterday's Starship. Very cool.
This is the best remotely operated, continuously mining tunnel boring machine in the world. Constructing a tunnel comes down to two tasks. First, pushing, where we're actually digging the tunnel, and second,
What's interesting is Elon Musk in an interview recently. I don't know if you guys watched this with me or not, but recently someone had asked him what's the one of the most lacking industries in the United States. What would he recommend that people go into? And he said tunneling. And it's funny because I had a conversation with a family member who's in construction. He echoed the same thing, that they quite literally had to fly over a team of people from Ireland in order to dig a tunnel because there's such a need that they have to. There's literally roving teams of people that go around. That's all they do is they specialize in digging tunnels.
Building, where we're constructing the concrete rings that make up the tunnel structure. Continuous mining means these two tasks happen simultaneously, meaning the machine never stops moving forward. Here's how it works. We're starting at the front of proof rock. Just behind this wall, the cutter head rotates with enormous torque, powered by these 4 electric motors. Tools on the cutter head gouge away at the earth and force material back into the muck chamber. A massive auger takes the material in the muck chamber and feeds it out onto the conveyor belt, which takes the muck up to the surface. As the cutter head digs, propulsion cylinders extend, pushing the machine deeper and creating more space for the next ring of tunnel. At the same time, the mining crew loads the liner truck, a giant remote-controlled vehicle with concrete segments each weighing 4,000 pounds. When liner truck reaches the front, it is unloaded, and a robotic crane picks up each segment and delivers it to the shuffler. The shuffler moves each segment up to the front, and the erector picks it up and moves it into place.
Interesting.
Most tunnel boring machines alternate between pushing and building. Push and then build, push and then build. Our tunnel boring machine pushes and builds at the same time. And this is where we can control everything remotely. Our global
Sweet.
operations control center. From here, we can control machines from Las Vegas to Dubai. That's remote continuous mining. Muck flowing out of the screw, propulsion cylinders extending, a new ring going up. All at once, all without stopping, all operated from the surface. Instead of mining miles per year, this will allow us to mine miles per week.
What's the other thing that's interesting about boring company and digging holes like this is that, there's this mentality that there's not enough land mass to support our current population. Like idiots, like stupid people think the world's overpopulated. We're so underpopulated right now, it's not even funny. But even if we were overpopulated, Elon Musk makes this point to where, we go 3D with buildings, building up on top of the land. We don't do enough of it going down. It's like you can build down and gain additional space. And with machines like this that can, produce miles per month or miles per week in, infrastructure underground, like there's no excuse for this stupid mentality that the world is overpopulated. Yeah, I wonder, I imagine that do you think we'll have underground structures in the end let's see, in the kingdom of heaven? When Christ's reign on here on earth, we'll have underground. I imagine all the underground structures will still persist, depending on. So if seal number 7, at the end of seal number 7, if it really is indeed a returning to Pangea, I imagine we'll still have underground tunnels. I don't see why not. Let's see, is there one photo that doesn't go hard? Oh, yeah, that is cool. It's like Star Trek right there. My favorite photo from yesterday, a powerful sight as the latest iteration of Starship climbs through Texan skies. Captured via a sound-triggered camera, this camera captured the chaotic scene far better than I could have from a safe distance. Prints are available today. That is a really cool picture. Very cool. Starship's booster produces as much thrust as 80 Boeing 747s. Okay. Okie doke. Let's see. British police are hiding Henry Nowick's final Snapchat and police body cam footage. Of course they are, because they're guilty. 18-year-old Henry Nowak was stabbed to death in Southampton. His Snapchat video captured the attackers carrying a 21-centimeter blade and saying, "I am a bad man," shown in court. Body cam footage captured the dying teen handcuffed by police, pleading, "I've been stabbed, I'm dying, I can't breathe." He collapsed and bled out in cuffs. What a tragedy. Yet the full raw footage remains withheld from the public despite outrage and petitions. Why hide a victim's final moments if there's nothing to hide? Release the Snapchat and body cam footage now. Justice for Henry demands transparency. Yeah. For a second there, I thought that was like Coca-Cola. I set 7 cameras near the pad for Starship's 12 test flight. In a first for me, all 7 got incredible photos. Here's a little peek at one of them. There are a lot more. I'll post some of my favorites tomorrow. It is really cool. 13 minutes. Probably not going to watch all of this.
So what has persuaded you to come out today?
Well, we've driven up, my son and I, from Newbury, because obviously we can see the state of the nation and there's a national emergency, and we need to obviously think about the future. What kind of country are we going to have for our children? Or are we going to have a nation at all? Now, I'd rather live in a nation and not a market, not a borderless international supermarket browsed by mutually hostile strangers, not something that reduces us all to bargain hunters. We need to save the nation, and I think that Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain is the only credible vehicle to do that.
What was it that made you come over? What were the issues that pulled you to Restore, and what was the moment?
Well, you can see that there's obviously there's the bankruptcy of the general liberal idea. There's the fact that you get a sense that the Western idea and the ideas we've had since the Second World War are winding down themselves, and at the same time, you can't escape the fact that we appear to be morally as well as financially bankrupt across the West, across Europe and in Britain, that the whole system is in a form of crisis. If you like, what we used to call normal life has been replaced by a permanent state of emergency in terms of our social incohesion, in terms of demographic change, in terms of the fact that there appear to be no realistic solutions offered, and whoever you vote for, the same mad policies get continued throughout your life. And that's what I've seen the last 30 years. And if it goes on, we're finished.
Britain needs their version of a Trump.
So what does finished look like?
What does finished look like? Finished looks like an economic collapse. Finished looks like spending all your money on foreign wars when nothing works in the country. Finished looks like you can't get a job for being competent. There's no sanity even in recruitment. We have a competency crisis because for increasingly ideological and insane reasons, employment opportunities, even training opportunities, are restricted. There's one news story after another about why, for political reasons, we're doing mad things that bankrupt the country, that basically park people's careers, that exclude talented people of genuine principle from any area of influence whatsoever. And taken collectively, this is the politics and economics of national suicide. So it has to stop. And there's increasingly a sense, not just in Britain, but throughout the West, that something has to change.
What's so weird about it is it's like synchronized across multiple countries around the world. What is it with the people, the mentality? I mean, like, it's spiritual clearly, but is it, which side is it coming from? Is it coming from God preparing for, the coming of God's wrath? Or is it just like the freaking out of devil spirits that are, I don't know, but it's so weird that it's synchronized everywhere around the world. Anyway, I think we got enough from that. We can move on. He, him, his, every time. The doctor was just arrested for molesting toddlers. Yes. How did Wayne Medicine miss this? Lincoln D. Erickson, MD. He, him, his. A lot of this happening at the same time, too. Restore Britain. Rupert Lowe. Restore Britain is under brutal assault by the establishment. Listen to me when I say this. They want us gone. Everything will be thrown at us. False allegations, dishonest polling. Yeah, Restore Britain. See, this is a major reason why mass immigration generates such intense resentment.
Permanent resettlement of an entire ethnic group from the place they call home, that's called ethnic cleansing. And
the white British population has decreased
by 600,000, while the minority population has increased by 1.2 million. So, yes, lads, we're winning. What is on the table is ethnic cleansing. When you were talking about the...
Yeah, it is interesting. Want some truth? Yes, please. Not releasing police body cam footage is an admission of guilt. British police are not releasing Henry Nowak's. Yeah, that's very true. See, when you think in terms of Kardashev scale, it becomes obvious that the sun is the most overwhelming source of energy. Kardashev scale. Yep. You cannot simultaneously have a welfare state and free immigration. Milton Friedman. 100%, Elon says. From Brevel Le Pogem, translated from French. Most large companies are zombie organizations. Here's why. In League of Legends, your rank isn't a title, it's a continuous measure. You're master because you're playing like a master this week. If you stop grinding, you drop down. Diamond, platinum, gold. The system doesn't owe you anything. Your rank reflects your skills at the exact moment, not what it was 3 years ago. Now look at the classic S&P 500 company. A guy becomes VP because he was excellent at 35. At 50, he's still VP. In the meantime, he might have stopped producing, stopped learning, stopped challenging his mental models. Doesn't matter. The title is locked in. The pyramid hierarchy works like a ratchet. You climb up, you don't climb back down. Your organization, Elo, is frozen at the peak of your career. It's a Darwinian aberration. These structures distribute authority based on past competence. Isn't that true? Let's see. And past competence is a very poor predictor of present competence, especially in a world that's changing fast. Competitive games solved this problem 20 years ago. ELO recalculates with every match. The hierarchy reflects real performance, not the memory of a performance. It's brutal, and that's exactly why it works. The best players really are the best players, not the ones who were good back in 2008. AI makes this aberration lethal. When a team of 12 people with the right tools can produce what a 200-person department used to, the cost of a VP who no longer produces isn't just his salary. It's the gap between what he's blocking and what a meritocratic organization would unlock. The gap explodes every month. Look at this market. How long is this? It's not very long. Look at the market. The S&P 500 barely exists anymore. There's the S&P 7, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Meta, Tesla. That's capturing nearly all the value creation and 493 zombies holding their cap through accounting inertia, meaning they spend money. The zombies share one trait. Competence doesn't follow there. It crystallizes into titles, territories, protective processes. The companies that will emerge over the next 10 years will have a new structural property. Authority will be continuously revocable. Present competence will be the only currency. No more title rents, no more committees, no more I earned my position in 2015. You produce now or you drop off the ladder. It's not an ideological question. It's just an environment where AI divides execution costs by 50. Organizations that protect acquired incompetence get obliterated by those that don't. Everything needs reinventing, and that's exactly what makes the moment fascinating. Boy, that's an interesting post. That was reposted from Elon. Was that on Sunday? Saturday or Sunday? I don't know. What does the world look like when you have to constantly prove yourself? You know, there's no retirement. There's no, there's no. So I guess this means that there's no more building. Well, you just have to stay constantly competitive. So if you spend a decade building a business, and you want to rest when you've achieved, a particular market value. But somebody comes along. Well, I mean, that's exactly what we're facing. Like today with AI, people are able to, if you're in a software company, people are able to replicate your product with just one or two people. That's what they're saying. So, what used to take 200 people in a company to to produce a product, you can now do with a team of AI agents, and people are legitimately doing this. There's guys out there that are commanding, 20, 30 agents and replicating entire companies. So the guys that, spent all that time building their company, hoping to like coast for the next couple of years. Yeah, they're in for a cold, hard lesson. So what does the future look like? Thank God that Jesus is returning. What will it look like under him? Will we still have artificial intelligence? I can't imagine why we wouldn't. I can't imagine why we wouldn't have the best of the best, the best that creation has to offer. It'll be a different system, that's for sure. I do believe that we still have jobs. His parables indicate that we still have jobs. The parable of the talents, he who had 5 talents doubled them, gets put over a certain number of people. All right, we already watched this. I went up to Makerfield to canvass for Restore Britain and explain why Restore is the only party which will save the nation. Oh, that's what that was about. All right, what is this?
Good morning, everybody. It's a big day in the Lowe household today. My second son is getting married in about 3 hours' time, and I've just been and rescued a deer which got caught in a piece of fencing. So it's been a busy time.
Rescued it?
As it has indeed up in Makerfield. So I thought I would just say a few words to everybody. We appear to be coming under massive pressure from everybody, particularly within Reform, to stand down and give them a free run at Makerfield. Establishment polls from the Times have come out, a relatively small poll. It's getting a bit old, it probably ages about a week ago. It doesn't tally with our polling, which shows us having the most incredible support. And I've been up there, I've met a lot of the people, I've been absolutely blown away by how excited they are that actually there is now an option for them to vote for and to campaign for, which they see has some sort of chance of delivering what I think most of us now.
What's interesting about the UK is it seems to be part of seal number 3. So many people had assumed that seal number 3 was going to be inflation and famine. And I think this is why it's so important that there actually were markers, that there were markers for the seals, because otherwise we wouldn't know this information. But the marker for seal number 3 was the yoking together of the United States and the United Kingdom. So it could be that these two countries are the ones who join. They could be the two beasts. They could be the two horns from the beast from the land in the end times. It's so interesting to watch what's happening, what happened in the United States and what's happening in the United Kingdom. We watch this with great interest.
Want and need to see if Britain is to be restored. Mm-hmm. The key question, I think, is if you...
I think it's generating a need for a new type of governance. This is something else I was talking about this weekend with my family, is more and more with the way that things are going, you can see... There's been some new advancements in AI. The big race has been for power and compute. What's interesting about that is there's been some breakthroughs in AI in that they're realizing, and this has gone largely unpublished right now, but they're realizing that there's so many people are taking advantage of AI, but they have niche needs that they don't need the big, enterprise grade models to accomplish what it is that they need. So if they just need to draw pictures, or if they just need to edit video, or if they need to generate code or review code, they don't need the model that has all of the information of the world contained in it. They can use smaller specialized models that, if you're just reviewing code or writing code, you just need a model that's trained specifically in code. It doesn't necessarily need to know Shakespeare. And it's making the model sizes smaller and more likely to be able to run locally. So I think there's going to be a shift here very soon in the AI market, to where as we kind of settle into the market and start realizing these things, that the push, so everything that's happened in the United States and the United Kingdom and everything that we're seeing pushed for these massive data centers, and it almost seems as though that they were being pushed in towards this governance, an AI government of some kind. That seems to be what they're going to be left with, is because we're going to have all these data centers that we built because we thought we needed them. But as we kind of settle into the artificial intelligence economy, I don't think we really necessarily need these data centers. They're going to be used primarily for maybe running smaller models, because we need them for training right now. Right now, we thought we needed them for training, to where you ingest all of the available information and you compile it in a way that it's efficient to search. But things are changing. Things are definitely changing.
Look at what people are saying, this vote splitting, this, oh, you're going to let Andy Burnham in. I think you have to look at what the Labour Party
So to answer your question, John, yes, I absolutely think that Elon Musk is going to start using robots to not only build the moon base, but also in his factories. He's already stopped producing two of their main models, the Model S and the Model X, and they're switching over to producing Optimus robots. And I believe they've slated that the first 2 million robots are going to be built for supporting Tesla's factories, and I would imagine probably also the moon base, because they have gotten permission to launch 1 million satellites into space for the space-based data center, which is really interesting, the timing on all of that. But yeah, I do think he'll probably use robots on the moon base.
is, at what Keir Starmer is, at what Andy Burnham is, and what an entire front bench are. What they are is a deeply malign Labour Party who has presided over a Fabian agenda.
I don't think we need to really listen to all this. I think we get the point. Let's listen to a little bit of Nook Shirley here.
Today is a big day. We're here in Minnesota, back with the legend David. Today's a big day because today here in Minnesota, over 10 people are being charged for fraud that they have committed here inside the state of Minnesota. And a few of these people are being charged with autism and daycare, childcare fraud. Over $40 million in autism fraud. And one of the main ladies in the video that me and David made, she has been caught with over $4 million. Her last year her daycare received $3.67 million, and now she has been criminally charged for child care fraud here inside the state of Minnesota. And this is some of the highest amount of fraud that's ever been charged inside of this district. This is Ilhan Omar's district here in Minnesota. And on top of that, they're bringing about 2 new cases of fraud that have actually never been criminally charged inside of the Medicare programs here inside of Minnesota. This is a big deal. David, you're here with us. What does this say?
This is phenomenal to see the progression that things are happening after the release of our videos. And that woman who was criminally charged, by the way, she was caught at the airport with a one-way ticket to London. She was getting out of Dodge, and they stopped her. And now she's been charged not only with the Feeding Our Future fraud, but she's the first person charged with child care fraud. It's a big deal.
This is a big deal, and they're going to be doing these press conferences right now. We're going to be breaking it all down. We're going to be interviewing people like Dr. Oz and also A.G. Collins, who's actually the head of the Fraud Task Force. He's the Attorney General of the Fraud Task Force, so we're going to be interviewing him as well. And right now, because of the celebration that's taking place, the lawyers are leering the hard way. We're doing 25% off the entire site, so you can go to antifraudclub.com and use code LEERING, and you're going to get 25% off. And now,
boy, they're really using that leering. Good. Fate loves irony, but despises hypocrisy. You're fundamentally misunderstanding the controversy here while invoking a controversy that should have made it obvious race swap wasn't even a conversation in the 90s. Then race-obsessed leftoids made it a one-way issue in the 20-teens via movies like Ghost in the... Ghost in the Shell, and took over Hollywood. That leftist race obsession hasn't ended. White people are still policed out of film and television constantly, often in the name of historical accuracy. The reaction you're witnessing here isn't about the race of an actress, it's about hypocrisy. One class of roles is meant for people of the proper skin color, while another, white, historical figures or former white characters, and yes, obviously this includes European myth, LMAO, is meant for everyone. The dynamic is clearly racist. I think the Shonda Rhimes colorblind model is best, but reactions like this will continue until our cultural institutions actually listen and disband the anti-white dogma. Yeah. Fate loves irony, but despises hypocrisy. Indeed. What is this? Tortured for months. Oh, no. So this is from James Wood. Her name was Isabella Stroop. She was 19. She loved books. Her family called her Bella. She was tied to a bed with a tow strap and tortured for months. Yikes.
18-year-old Isabella Stroop, who CMPD says was raped, tortured, and murdered inside this East Charlotte apartment.
You know, she was 19, and she just appeared in her picture so vulnerable.
24-year-old Tomas Hamilton has been charged with first-degree murder and first-degree forcible rape in connection to Isabella's death. Court records say last Friday morning, Hamilton called 911 from this QT near his East Charlotte apartment. He reported that Isabella, the woman he says he was dating, had a heart attack during sex and stopped breathing. Officers found her tied up in a bedroom. The medical examiner later finding that Isabella had several broken bones and stab wounds. Documents say detectives learned she had been tortured over several months. They say she would have been physically incapable of providing sexual consent, hence the rape charge.
What I suspect is that he isolated her from her family and friends, more than likely, and that is one of the first tactics that abusers do.
Yep.
Now, B. Cote's nonprofit Impact Plus actually has a different approach to domestic violence prevention. They actually work with the abuser, counseling them on their choices and how they justify committing that domestic violence. As it relates to Tomas Hamilton, we understand, and I did some checking, that as far as a criminal record, all that he really has are some traffic violations and a couple charges for carrying a concealed weapon, those out of Cleveland County dating back to 2021. Live in East Charlotte, Jonathan Lowe.
Yeah, it's still a terrible world we live in right now. Definitely suffering the consequences of the curse, that's for sure. This is big. The French justice minister says that they have reached the limit of the country's capacity. He wants to see a 3-year moratorium on legal migration. Things are changing. Fair enough. Keir Starmer took the knee for George Floyd, but he's absolutely silent on Henry.
The phrase "you're not angry enough" doesn't seem to do this horrific event justice. Henry Novak died on the street, handcuffed in a puddle of his own blood. This is not just terrifying incompetence, this is deeply ingrained institutional cowardice and two-tier policing. The police would rather risk a boy's life than risk the ultimate sin of being called racist. This is yet another utterly horrific consequence of political correctness. And again, it was completely preventable. This is the result of years of woke, DEI, British-hating mindset infesting our once trusted institutions. People are now so terrified of being labelled racist that it's having real-life, lethal consequences.
Yeah.
And where is Keir Starmer in all of this? This is the same Prime Minister who took the knee for George Floyd, a convicted criminal who died thousands of miles away, whose same final words, "I can't breathe," became a global rallying cry. He stood in Parliament and pushed the fictional Netflix drama Adolescence into schools, even mistakenly called it a documentary twice. He changed the entire national conversation around a work of fiction. But look at the completely different reaction he has to Henry Nowak, a real British boy stabbed to death on our streets, pleading "I can't breathe" while handcuffed and ignored by police. Not one word, not a single mention, absolute silence. When the victim is a white working class lad from Essex, Keir Starmer, the man who laughably claims to speak for working people, doesn't say a word. The hypocrisy is eye-watering.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. More Restore Britain. A lot of that.
You're saying to me that someone, a foreign person who is legally resident but lives in social housing, will be deported under a reform government just because of that? They live in social housing.
Well, not exclusively because of that.
Well, that's what. But if you just said that's what you agreed with.
If they fail to meet our criteria because they're not in work or they're not working in as many hours, not earning enough money, then they won't be able to renew their work visa because ILR won't exist, and they'll be asked to leave.
Oh, so you don't agree with
that? That is fair.
You don't agree with all of Restore's
let me
policies.
finish on the point about.
You're saying to me that someone.
Just make it exist first. You can make it good later. This is very true. This is engineering 101. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they make anything or do anything is they try to make it perfect first rather than trying to make it, and then they get distracted with the failure rather than accomplishing something and then perfecting. This happens. I've seen this so many times in businesses and startups, to where a startup will focus so hard on a product, on a single product, that they just want to be a home run. And by the time they perfect it, you've got 15 other competitors who saw what you're doing, who've done it, who just got it done. And they've got customers actually using the product while you're still trying to perfect it. And, they're working on perfecting it while they have a customer base. This is a fundamental. Don't be perfect. All right, what do we got here? Major shout out to Elon Musk. I feel like we've seen this.
Major shout out to Elon. Elon, thank you for everything that you're doing for humanity.
He's the man, for sure.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, I'll see you guys.
We want
to major.
Okay, I'm sure we've seen that before. Western civilization didn't flourish because white males stopped other groups from succeeding. The West thrived because of rational thought, individual rights, and free enterprise. Very true. 2 years ago, Elon destroyed the Tesla brand globally. It'll never recover. Today, #1 selling EV in California is the Model Y. Product equals brand. Indeed. Western civilization has collapsed before, but a few scholars preserved the idea that once made Rome great, they made a backup. And it did eventually come all the way back up. That's funny. The 400s in Rome were brutal. How it started, how it's going. The team is gathering speed. Grok Build just got another update. XAI is now oh, that reminds me. I finally got access to Grok Build, and I've had it pointed at. Let's see. Should I show you what I've been working on? Let me show you what we're working on, just for fun, just for funsies. Okay, let's see. Prophecy Watch is what it's called. So I started working on this. So I got this idea. A while ago. Let's see. Local. There you go. I want to start mapping out the different military movements that are listed in the scripture. So the primary ones are in Ezekiel 38. There's a couple of them, 1 through 23 and 1 through 29. Psalms 83, Daniel 11, Revelation 16, Revelation 9. So there's a couple of areas and kind of military-based movements that are listed. So I got this idea. I wonder if we can set like alerts in areas, like put watch zones in these areas. Check this out. So we got like little watch zones in these areas for like where things are listed in the scripture. And then take the available streams of data from like military, because there's a lot of sources. This is just some of them. I haven't even finished making this yet, but there's a lot of sources that like track military movements, both the United States and other countries. that we could literally put watch zones in these areas to where when we hit certain thresholds that match what's written in the scripture, we can actually get alerts saying the scripture is being fulfilled. So this is what I was building with Grok build. Wouldn't that be cool? You just get an alert. Beep, prophecy's been fulfilled. Ezekiel 39 happening right now. I thought that'd be fun. So that's what I've been working on. I thought I'd show you guys the progress on that. It's coming along. So we got this coming, end time scenario catalog and claims, and we'll add more sources here. So pretty much anything that affects these different areas, we'll be able to add it to the watch list and get real-time alerts on prophecy fulfillment. Let's see. Figured I'd show you that before I forget. All right, let's go back to Elon here. Change it up a little since we're spending so much time on their posts today. Catching up takes a long time. All right, what do we got? So the X team is gathering speed. Yeah, the Grok build's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's almost as good as all the other really cool tools that we use on a daily basis. High trust societies cannot survive uncontrolled immigration. Yeah, people take advantage. Keep hearing we're on the verge of number 38. Yeah, I want to. It's funny, by the time I get this thing built, we'll have already been through it. That's my biggest fear, is like, am I wasting my time? I mean, should we just be observing what's going on? We still have a few more years. I mean, when you look at the timeline, like we're let's see. So if it's from 2017 to 2031, we're kind of, let's see. So if that's 28. So we're like here. So we've got like this distance to go for what's written in the end times, military movements and stuff like that. Oops, you can't see. So we got from here to like here. So this is basically where we are right now. So if you were on a timeline of just a length, so 2017 to 2031, we're like right here. We're like 3/4 of the way through the end times. 2031 this will probably be the very end. This is where I expect that the new heavens and the new earth are going to show up. So the magnetic poles will have shifted, and if the earth, so whatever it means for the islands and the mountains to flee away, that'll have happened here, which I think a good possibility of that would be the return of Pangea, which is the one landmass, because that would make it a lot easier for people to travel back to Jerusalem once a year. Can you imagine if all the earth, all the land was connected together and there's no mountains, no islands? You could literally ride a horse if you wanted to from one end of the continent to the next. Talk about flat earth. It'll seem like flat earth. All right, let's go back to his posts. All right. All right, leftism was always a pseudo-radical movement. They don't want to smash the system and eat the rich. They want to control the system and become the rich. Yes, indeed. Foreign aid, Marshall Plan versus Africa. Like a book you need to read. Taxes screw over both companies and the states they're in. Taxes didn't build those big companies. They show up after the success. They sure as hell didn't create Silicon Valley. The sky-high taxes came later, once it was already killing it. California basically turned its successful companies into hosts and started parasitically draining them for more and more cash, jacking up the rates year after year. They forget the first rule of parasitism: don't kill the host. Companies only have so much tolerance before they say screw it and bail for another state with better deals and resources. And that breaking point is a lot lower these days. Yeah, California. You've overeaten your hosts. Henry Nowak was stabbed in the back and legs while he was trying to escape. That's not self-defense. Yeah, I won't say that this is the reason we started doing mixed martial arts, but it sure is part of it. Yeah, I mean, I started doing mixed martial arts primarily for the exercise, and we wanted our kids to start getting the discipline. But it doesn't really take a whole lot to be able to defend yourself. It's a shame Henry didn't have any self-defense training. Maybe he did. I don't know. Sometimes an attacker can overwhelm even a skillful, somebody who's skillful in defense. It's actually 1% of the population that committed 63% of violent crimes, at least in Sweden. You're much more of a slave to the 1% that commit 50% of the crimes than you are to the 1% that create 40% of wealth. Let's see, right. So just so we're all clear, Farage and Reform tried to put me in prison because I backed the mass deportation of Pakistani child rapists and their foreign wives and relatives who allowed it to happen. Only Restore Britain can save Britain. Yeah. Okay. Let's see, from Katie Miller, Britain is importing future voters and forever. This is the idea. So this is so destructive. I don't understand why it is that these idiots who are maybe it's something they started and well, no, because they keep voting for it. Britain is importing future voters and forever sanctioning the brutality of these migrants on their women and girls. Terrible. Yeah, we saw that here in America too. Thank God for Donald Trump. What is this?
We used to, as I say, have an empire. We used to have something to be proud of. I think we're a bit of a hollow vessel now, and what we've got to do is probably put on our hair shirt, Peter, do some hard work, don't expect that your standard of living is going to improve, because I think at the moment, with all the debt that is funding our lifestyle, we've got to accept the fact we're living above what our hard work owes us. So we need to put a cold towel on our heads, do some work, retrench. But I think people will be happier. I think a properly structured, functioning economy based on common sense, logic, and fairness, people will live much happier lives. And that's the economy I want to see. And I want to celebrate difference.
You know, even before the fall, Adam was put in the garden to till it and keep it. I think just as we're just designed to be happier being busy. You know, I've tried the early retirements. I've tried taking off a year here and there, and I always inevitably go back to work because you get bored way too fast. You can only do hobbies and pleasurable things for so long before it's just like, I want to build stuff. I want to do stuff.
I want to reward enterprise. I want to punish indolence. I don't want to reward it. And I want to see people who contribute. They should be the ones who are effectively applauded. And the people who take risk and build companies and employ lots of people, who innovate, who take risk, that's a country I want to see.
That's what built our country. Another one, a 20-year-old illegal Afghan migrant sexually assaulted an 11-year-old girl and threatened her with a knife at a special needs school in Germany. Yeah. Nassar S., a 20-year-old unemployed Afghan migrant, has been arrested after brutally assaulting. Man. Some bad people in this world. SpaceX put 10 megawatts of solar power in space across 3,000 Gen 1 Starlink satellites. Then they put 100 megawatts in space with 7,000 Gen 2. Soon they're doing 1,000 megawatts with Gen 3. SpaceX is basically 10xing space solar every few years. This trend will continue for many years. Grok build. Okay.
What are your plans for the over 40,000 homeless in Los Angeles?
Ooh, this is really good.
Well, they're not homeless. They're drug addicts. Most of these people are addicted to fentanyl and meth. This isn't Spencer making it up.
Are you saying they don't have homes?
There is places for all.
So this is the mayor candidate in California, Spencer Pratt. Not only has he been knocking it out of the ballpark with his advertising, his Hollywood style AI videos. He's got some, I mean, he's speaking truth when it comes to what's going on in California.
All of these people to sleep in LA. No matter what anybody tells you, we have housing and shelter for everyone that's living on the street. They are choosing to be on the street because they want to do drugs. They don't want rules. They don't want to listen. They want to have animals to abuse. This idea that they're forced on the street right now is a lie that our city is perpetuating. We've paid $24 billion to house these 40,000 people. There's spots for all of these people. They are choosing because they're an addict, and you can do fentanyl and sewer meth on the sidewalk with no repercussions. These places are not as, they have to follow some rules. You can't torture a dog in some of these houses. You can't just attack.
A lot of these sanctuary cities are the same thing. They even provide the actual like needles and in some cases the drugs for them to do.
People, you can't just be naked.
Where are you going to move?
Well, I just released a 9-minute video, so you can.
I think I saw your video.
Yeah, so it's very detailed.
But it's going to take time to build the facility and money.
No.
How fast do you think you can do it?
These people can literally. I went to Washington and I saw miles of the most insane prefabricated housing and building. I asked all the CEOs of these companies, say, how long does this take? I met with FEMA and HUD.
Plans for the over 40,000 homeless.
These companies say, how long does this take? I met with FEMA and HUD. 3 days. 3 days. And all of this is cheaper than trying to take over, kick senior citizens.
This is the thing that we found too, is when we were trying to figure out what we can do to help the homeless, is it's not for lack of resources. The people who are homeless now, there's a couple. There's a few out there that are they're there because of mental illness or drugs or unfortunate circumstances, but there's a lot of people that are out there helping, and there's a lot of resources. So the ones that are out there by choice. They want to do drugs. They want to be out on the streets. They want to be where they can do drugs without getting in trouble. And so it's a problem that these sanctuary cities are encouraging. And it's terrible. It's a terrible way to treat the people. And trying to figure out how you can help these people, it's a challenge. It is truly a challenge to figure out how you can help these people that want to be there and just want to do drugs.
Out of their buildings is what happens. They kick them out, and then the NGOs come in and they spend 4 years. This is LA. This is LA's timetable.
Where is this facility going to be?
It's on beautiful federal land property.
Where, in LA County?
Well, when I'm mayor, I'll go meet with the federal government and I'll get the property. Right now, I'm just running, so I can't give you the exact address because I don't have the legal responsibility to go represent Los Angeles and say, can I have this land? But when I'm mayor, I promise you, because we have the Olympics coming and everybody in the government wants LA to be the #1 most beautiful city, they will work with me to give me the land I need.
So you're going to move these 40,000 people somewhere, and you're going to have this facility up in, you said, how long?
Here's what you got to realize.
90 days?
Let me explain something. These 40,000 people, 60% of them, City Watch just announced this week, are not from Los Angeles. They're not from California. These people have been bussed in by scam rehabs, scam NGOs, scam homeless nonprofits. These people, when I unplug them and say, we're not taking our tax money anymore, they're all going to Seattle, where the mayor will welcome them. These are products to a lot of people.
Yeah, they don't move. They migrate like animals. I found this out by watching Truth in the Streets with Kevin Dahlgren. Is the homeless also migrate? They'll take advantage of transportation to other cities. They travel to where there's the most resources. There are some areas that have got so many churches to where the homeless have a lack for nothing at all. Matter of fact, they live better than some people who actually work for a living, but they still choose to be on the street. It's just they have all the clothes, food, everything that they need, but they just go to where the resources are so that they can continue to live the lifestyle they want, which is they want to do drugs. So, I mean, like, he's making a point that 40,000 of the people in LA, of the homeless, aren't even from LA. They get bussed in there, which is something that I've seen by watching Kevin Dahlgren as well, is that they tend to migrate around to wherever they can A lot of them have phones. A lot of them have internet. The Biden administration and Obama administration were giving them free phones with internet.
So the people that want to keep doing drugs and live on the sidewalk, a lot of these people are going to leave. The other ones, there's a lot of criminals. There's people that are getting naked in front of kids. They're going to jail. The people that are torturing animals, they're going to jail. So not everyone goes in the same box. So we have the money, we have the resources, and we have the facilities.
Yeah. Super excited for him to be mayor. He's done a good job running, that's for sure. Dang it reset the feed. Where was I? I think we were pretty close to the top. Yeah, here we are. It's like you get to within a certain distance of the top and it's unpredictable. The number of countries that held marches for George Floyd, 93. Henry Novak, 0. Yeah. It's a tragedy. Endometriosis. Imagine being 15 years old and being told the solution to your crippling pain is chemical menopause with prostate cancer drugs or just removing your uterus. This is happening right now. Women are losing organs at an alarming rate. Oops. Bowel, kidneys, appendix, even parts of the diaphragm. Birth control is pushed like candy while millions suffer in silence. Endometriosis affects 190 million women worldwide. Is this an ad? No, this is a repost. Affect nearly 100,000, 190 million worldwide. It destroys health, fertility, and quality of life. Nearly 100,000 hysterectomies every year in the U.S. alone as a so-called cure. The medical system is broken on this. We need real research, better diagnostics, and an actual path to a cure. Humanity is only as strong as its health. Time to fix it. Agreed. Yeah, the health system is definitely broken. This whole specialization with the doctors is so limiting because you may have to go see dozens of doctors before you can find one that specializes in a way, because they'll all tell you that they're the top in their field and they're all specialists, but it may take you time to find one who actually is expert in what is needed to heal you. And unfortunately, in the process of seeking those doctors, some of them can cause some intense damage because they don't know, they don't care, they don't know. It's a broken system. It really is a broken system. I can't wait until the world gets back into a system of healing, because that's the implication biblically is when the earth is renewed, is that it will go back to what it was before the flood, to where people lived hopefully infinitely. That the earth will just continually renew your body. That's unfortunately why those who, I have a feeling, it's a sneaky suspicion, that those who took the jab, if they're still around, if they haven't gotten new bodies by being part of the elect who are gathered together when Christ comes back, those who haven't gotten renewed bodies, if they still have that poison in their blood with the DNA, it's going to be incredibly painful during the restructuring of the earth. That's why it alludes to this in the in Revelation. It talks about the people wishing for death but unable to die. I think that's part of the magnetic pole shift and the returning to Pangea, because it's very likely going to go back to what it was like before the flood. Another fabulous look in Courchevel. Just so you know, I change into these magnificent gowns in the back of a van. For more stories, be sure to pre-order my new book, Timeless. Oh, this is May Musk. This is his mom. Whoa. Oh, that's cool. Epic. Kind of like a white peacock, huh? May Musk. Timeless. Good old Mom Donnie. It begins. New York City Zoran Mamdani unveils plan to transfer ownership from landlords to the community. Great. Communism on the rise.
When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers.
So that's where it starts. We don't deserve to
and
have
for
a house.
buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards. Stewards that include community land trusts, nonprofits, or even the tenants themselves. When necessary.
Yeah, you know, the thing about the systems, the people who want this are the ones who provide no value. So because they don't provide value on their own, they want to take it from others. Mamdani says his admin will transfer ownership from bad landlords to nonprofits. For buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards. This is not going to end well. Will not end well. Alrighty. And finally, I think this is his pinned post. Mostly true. What matters is securing the long-term future of consciousness, both on Earth and other heavenly bodies. We cannot just focus on Earth because there are irreducible. Because there are irreducible external example, massive meteor. Oh yeah, that's coming. Oh. Internal and they're mostly true. We cannot just focus on Earth because there are irreducible external massive meteor and internal global nuclear war, cataclysmic risks. The moon is faster to make self-growing, but is more susceptible to the problems of Earth. Mars will take longer to make self-growing because it is so hard to reach, but is more secure from Earth's disasters for the same reason. Both the moon and Mars should have self-growing civilizations. Jeez. Oh, he replaced it. I was reading that. Oh, there it is. Let's just watch the video.
Now, what is the timeline in terms of, like, does SpaceX have a multiple stage timeline, like a timeline for incorporating the Dragon crew, and then a timeline for the Starhopper, and then a timeline for additional projects in the future? Like, is he thinking along these lines of charted out progress?
Oh yeah. He's in fact, he measures pretty much every major decision by whether or not it brings the day when we have a self-sustainable colony on Mars sooner or later. That's the prism by which he makes every single decision he makes it through that prism.
Jesus.
Yeah. So he's got an idea, and he'll keep pushing, and he gives us aggressive timelines that we have to work to, and we work really hard to try to meet them. It's hard when you're doing stuff that is this complicated to predict exactly how long it's going to take. So, we end up often falling a little bit behind, but we do our best.
That's the case, though, with everything that's that crazy, right?
Yeah.
Especially Elon, he's never right in his predictions. All his wacky inventions, they're always a little off,
Yeah.
But what do you think?
But he's so driven, and he's such a smart guy, and he's really the most driven person I think I've ever met.
One of the reasons why he's often off in his estimates is because of that mentality of just get something built and we'll make it perfect later. So like self-driving, for instance, like most people thought that was impossible because nobody could get past the getting something done phase. But he was different. He started just building it, and they had to go through 12 different versions before they finally got to one that actually fulfilled the promise. So all that time he's making promises while trying to figure out the technology that fulfills the promise. So it's hard to estimate the time on those things because you might, you think you're close at every single version. Oh, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And you just don't know how it's going to work until you build it. So that, that's one of, it's just kind of, it's a feature, not a bug of engineering, is that you're never going to guess timelines right, because if you're getting stuff done, if you're actually working towards the goal, it'll get done when it gets done. So it's a miracle that he got it done in the time frame that he did, but he still was way off because we expected full self-driving 10 years ago when we bought our first Tesla. All right. Anyway, so there you go. 2 hours, an hour each for both of them to get all caught up on everything from the weekend. Same basic stuff. There's atrocities still going on in the world. Still working on the negotiations with Iran. We're watching interesting movements. Israel, boy, there's some interesting things going on with Israel. But it's coming along. Let's maybe answer some of these questions from the community. Stay safe. Thank you. Let's see. Trump just said that everyone needs to calm down because the deal is not done yet. True that. And we all know Iran, and we will know Trump. Well, not everyone. Laugh out loud. You can't quote Romans while commenting on Antichrist, as Paul is the subject of Revelation 2. What? Why does the church hate Israel? A shocking truth about replacement. You can't quote Romans while commenting on the Antichrist. I can? I don't know what you're saying, dude. You can't quote Romans while commenting on the Antichrist, as Paul is the subject of Revelation 2. How is Paul the subject of Revelation 2? Revelation 2 is talking about Ephesus and Smyrna. How is that the subject of Revelation 2? I think you need to add some clarity to your comment. I don't understand what you're saying there, Joe. Hi, Watchful. In case you didn't see the Rabbi's Ephraim Pavlov video. You okay? I think my dog's done. She wants to go outside. Hey, Watchful. In case you didn't see the Rabbi's Ephraim Palvanov video, here it is. He's talking about the same movement of Jews and Christians coming together as you have. Only thing we as Christians obviously can't agree with his statement is we don't need Jesus for our salvation. Yeah, that's a big problem. That is a big issue. Thank you for giving me that. I'll watch that later. Very curious to see how people are turning towards one another, because I really do believe that the children and the fathers, this is one of the reasons why I've kind of started moving away from like doctrinal issues. Is, God said he turned his face away from Israel for a period of time because of their sin, because of their disobedience. And now he's turning his face back towards them, which is why all of these things that are happening in Israel are showing that the God of Israel is God, because he's turned his face back towards them. He's defending them. He's protecting them. But you got to remember, one of the first things they did when Moses took off is they started making a golden calf. So they've been through that, God turned his face away from them for a period of time, and now he's turned his face back towards them. Well, same thing, you could arguably say the same thing applies to the Christians. And it's the Jews. You should recognize this. The Jews should recognize this, that the Christians are in the same boat, that as soon as, our leader left, what did we do? We turned to other gods. We basically turned to our version of a golden calf. And it's ridiculous to think that we didn't do that, because it's just the way the world is structured, is it causes people to seek out other gods when the leader has left. I think that's probably why Jesus warned against, I have come in my Father's name and you don't receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you will receive. As he was just basically saying that once he was gone, with Egypt, they worshipped animals and other gods, so it makes sense that they turned towards, making a golden calf. Well, it was a different day and age when Jesus was here, under the Roman authority, is the churches were already required to declare a man their God. They were required once a year to go up and declare the one who is his own authority as their God. So he was basically saying that once I leave, you're going to, those who don't receive me, who comes in my Father's name, you're going to receive the one who comes in his own name. And, if you're really looking with spiritual eyes and you're taking a step back and you're not offended by, somebody challenging your doctrine or your belief, you can actually see the need of both, like the Jews and the Christians. It's like, we're all one family. We need to come together. We need each other. And by the same, at the same time, the Jews have been blinded, probably to protect them. I don't know. I'm still kind of working this one through in my mind, but the Jews have been blinded up until the fullness of the Gentiles comes. Probably because we need each other. But yeah. So thanks for the link. I'll watch it. Let's see. What if the forbidden fruit isn't actual fruit? Well, I don't think it is fruit. Did I make it seem like it was fruit? The forbidden fruit of knowledge of good and evil is actually reading the book of Enoch. Oh, that's a good one. Not too crazy here. I'll finish reading your comment. Crazy theory idea, but seriously, Dead Sea Scrolls and other uncovered lost information is constantly being found today. Of course, the book and aliens existing, apparently, that has been stated on live news, could also be Satan, the ultimate deceiver, master illusionist, and liar, misleading the world towards anything but God. But seriously, what if we are not supposed to know everything in the spiritual realms, heaven and hell, and what was never meant for us to know, because God, the Father himself, warns us to trust his knowledge and understanding over our own, because we are perfectly flawed by nature. This is actually a valid point, in that we're a victim of knowledge, to where, if there wasn't a knowledge of evil, would there be evil? Right. Like, I do think that there's some validity, because, and this comes down to a better way of saying that being a victim of knowledge is, look at how what we believe changes who we are. There, with the fake news media and with the indoctrination that's taking place around the world, that is radicalizing people. It's knowledge of something. It's lies and deception that is causing people to be radicalized and want to kill one another. So there's definitely something to knowledge of good and evil. And again, that kind of points back to the reasons why the Jews and the Christians need to realize that. It's like, we just need to stop fighting. Stop being radicalized. This world wants you to label everybody and find a reason to make them your enemy. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop labeling people according to their sins so that we have a reason to hate them. I think this is why Jesus said that if you hate your brother, you don't, it's, what did he say? What am I thinking? What's that verse? It's like if you're thinking about adultery, it's as if you already committed adultery. It's just like it's changing your behavior. If you have hate in your heart, then it's like killing somebody. If you hate your brother, the love of God is not in you. So there's definitely something to that about knowledge is, and this. I think Paul, you guys remember Paul, I haven't seen him in a while. I need to chase him down. He was supposed to come on the show and talk about his book. He was writing a book on the difference between empathy and narcissism. And I think he's on to something biblically, because narcissism is this, basically it's this idea of, it's like a God complex, to where it's, you think there's a lot of manifestations of being a narcissist, but it's simply put, it's a God complex. You think you're better or above everybody, whereas empathy is, so narcissism is like closer to Satan, Cain, thinking that he had the right to kill Abel, where empathy is empathizing with somebody who has failed. If you do well, you will be accepted in the future. We have to fight this spirit of narcissism, this habit, this desire, this spirit, whatever it is that causes us to label somebody according to their sins. Oh, he's an alcoholic. Oh, he's a drug addict. Oh, he's mentally ill. Granted, there's wisdom in, don't subject yourself to dangerous situations, but surely we can treat one another better. If somebody doesn't agree with you, great. You've got something to talk about. There's, if everybody agrees on everything, it gets boring. You need people who have different opinions. I love that. I love that saying from the Jews that, if you have two Jews in a room, you've got three opinions. Three opinions on a subject. Something like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's definitely something about the knowledge of good and evil. And I think about that quite often, that it's, it's knowledge that causes people to act. And I think that's part of why I think the mark of the beast is belief. Is if you don't accept the truth, you're going to accept lies, and it's going to affect your behavior. That's what the mark of the beast is it's being sealed to a lie, and it affects your behavior ultimately. Absolutely fascinating information. Just incredible. Love the show. Thank you. I appreciate that. Really do appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. Don't worry. You're making educated guess for what the card. Let's see. So you're making an educated guess for what cards, as they say, show. Always believe the pre-trib. Always hope for the pre-trib. It's very interesting to see the other viewpoints and just analyze as it is from, let's see, all three with all the stuff going on. Yeah. Yeah, the whole goal of the show is to get to the truth, and not presume that we know it already. You know what I mean? Because that's the objective. Is, pay attention, try and get to the right answer. We're going to get some stuff wrong along the way, but the goal is to keep trying, recognize where we're wrong, adjust, and keep looking up. Eventually, Jesus is just going to return. Our job will be done. All right, Lord, I pray that Tovia Singer learns all about biblical Yeshua HaMashiach and distinguishes him from the church's Jesus and the foolishness of his sinful followers, their false traditions and syncretic Roman ways, many of which involve prosecuting Jews instead of offering true gospel. Amen. Yeah, amen. Thank you. I haven't been harding you guys. That's why you're there. You don't know it all? Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I even catch myself thinking I know stuff that I don't. Or saying something that's like, wait a minute, why did I say that? I know better. Yeah. Another reason why it's like we have to be so careful not to, because the world wants you to find a reason to hate one another. That seems to be an epidemic, and I can't wait until we get. What is it going to take to get to the point to where we, throw down our weapons and start to beat them into plowshares? Is it this global recognition? I think it's probably the removal of spiritual oppression, because right now I'm still of the opinion that the Nephilim are real, that something happened in the beginning between, angels and men that produced evil spirits. So maybe it's them finally being removed that we stop looking for reasons to hate one another. Which I think we're very close to that. He is extremely ignorant or a deceiver. He is either extremely ignorant or a deceiver. Are you talking about Tovia? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's ignorant. I don't think he's either, actually. I don't think he's ignorant. I think he's blind. I think God has blinded him and other Jews. But he seems to be taking the steps towards the blindness being removed. And as far as a deceiver, I think he's a deceiver because he's blind, because he's not capable of seeing Yeshua as the Messiah that they're looking for just yet. We've got to be getting close to the point. And I mean, we're going to get to a point to where it's irrefutable, to where, if the earth does actually indeed rotate, I mean, like, there's stuff coming on the world that are written in the book of Revelation that they're going to have no choice but to acknowledge. Like, if there's a giant meteor that hits the earth, wormwood, although, to be fair, there have been so many things that have happened so far that weren't as blatant as everybody expected. Like, even this channel, which is dedicated to echoing the voice of the two witnesses, I still find myself doubting if Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the two witnesses. But the further along we go, I mean, like, there's so many things that have happened that should make it, irrefutable, like beyond a doubt. But there's always that doubt, because we have different expectations. We expected some fantasy, and then reality bites us in the butt, and we still want the fantasy. Guess I'm a little late. Me too. Sorry. All right, what's this? So great work. A few more questions. Oh, Wayne, this is the post I've been wanting to get back to. Okay, so this is in regards to Cain and the seed of the serpent. So Wayne is the one who posted the information from Jubilees on our social network, the Two Witnesses Live social network, which I did read the book of Jubilees again this weekend. Had the audio book going all weekend long. I don't know if I've really changed any opinions. If anything, I'm starting to question, honestly, if Jubilees is if it contains truth, because there are some apparent contradictions between the book of Jubilees and Genesis that I need to sort out. One example is Eve is named the mother of all living. Adam names Eve because she is the mother of all living, but according to the book of Jubilees, he names her Eve before they've had any children. So there's some weird contradictions like that I'm like, nah. But here's the weird thing about Jubilees is it's one of the most copied books. So they found like 14 copies in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So like it's a book that they had access to, and it's a book that even Jesus during his day and age had. It kind of makes you wonder if even in Jesus's day, if they didn't deal with fiction. Like, they had books that people had made up that probably added to confusion on the way the explanation of what happened so many thousands of years ago. That may have been a challenge that Jesus and the rabbis had to deal with, is fiction. They could have a book that seemed like it was legitimate that could have contained information that was misleading. So that's kind of where I'm at with that right now. So to your questions. So this is in regards to, let's bring up the timeline. So we'll go here. Nope, timeline. Let's see, Two Witnesses. There you go. Timeline. Seed of the Serpent timeline. Okay, so this is year 0. Adam and Eve are in the garden for I think 7 years. Then they're kicked out, and then 62 years later, Cain is born. So that's a big fat question on, was there an angel involved in that or not, or was it just Adam and Eve? Kind of makes you wonder how old they were in here, which I think it's listed. I think that's one of the things that's listed in the book of Jubilees, their age during all of this. And you can figure it out anyway. So 60 some odd years later, Cain is born. And then shortly after that, Abel is born. And then Cain kills Abel when Abel is like 30 or 33 years old. I think it's 30. Because Cain is born 71 a.m. 7 years after Cain. And then, so he's like killed at 29 years old. Then Seth is born at 120. All right, so that's the context of this question. So he says, hey, great work. A few more questions. If this line of thinking is correct, meaning that Cain is the hybrid offspring of Eve and Gadriel or Samael, then that would make Cain Nephilim. Why then were his offspring not giants? Which is a really good point. So to study the word giants, not all the word doesn't always necessarily mean giant. I think we might make assumptions, and this would be a good study to get a more solid answer on this. If you study the word Nephilim, it can also mean giant in not just like stature, but in reputation. So I think they're even called heroes of old. So yes, it would make Cain Nephilim. Why then were his offspring not giants? Maybe they were. That's a good question. Do we have any evidence So this would be something to look into. Do we have any evidence of giants between when he is born and this would give us an answer. So the watchers don't come down until 4:61 a.m. So is there any evidence of giants prior to the watchers coming to Earth? So that's how we would answer that. That would help us. Because there's still two big questions. Why did Adam and Eve get kicked out of the garden? If it wasn't sexual in nature, or if it wasn't producing Cain, because he was and this just goes to, see, the problem with working with these texts is you're assuming that they're actually true. This is one of the things I had to learn getting out of the cult. Is one of the things that I think is destructive in the church is not separating actual truth from dogma. And what I mean by that is something is true when you know what true, something is repeatable, or the thing actually is the valid truth. Just because something is written about something doesn't mean it's necessarily true. We assume that every word of the Bible is true, but it's not. So number one, we don't have the original texts. We don't speak the original language. There is information that is lost going from one language to another. Yes, I understand that that they're very close and they're very similar. I also understand that out of like the 2,000 differences, only about like 1% to 2% actually matter. So it's relatively close to what was originally written. But you have to take into account things like church corruption, to where you get churches or groups that want to have power over the people, and they will insert things and call it canon in order to push people in a way that they want them to go. This is one of the issue with Paul's writings was Paul who he really says he is? And you may or may not notice, I don't use a lot of Paul's writings in, as supporting evidence for end times, because they don't really he's got some evidence, he's got some information written about the end times, but nothing that actually seems to change our observations or what we know about the future. Everything that really matters is in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Revelation, and probably 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. Everything else just adds, I don't know, flavor. Like, we don't need to know that when Christ returns, it'll be like, the dead in Christ will rise first. Those who are alive and remain will be caught up together with the Lord in the air. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. Right. So it's going to be like instantaneous. That's what we learn from Paul's writings. But what we learn from, Matthew 24 about the rapture is the Son of Man's going to show up in the clouds. He'll send out his angels to gather the elect from the four corners of the earth. It doesn't really say how we're going to be gathered together, but it could be instantaneous, or it could be a process of like loading a boat. Like, when Noah was loading the animals onto the ark before the earth was flooded. So it could be true, but it really doesn't change the fact that we're going to be gathered together. It just kind of gives the information of like, oh, it'll be instant. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Same thing with Revelation is Revelation gives us a lot of interesting timeline, like when to expect things to happen and what to look for and how things are going to be after the fact. And like, we get the idea of like what's going to happen to the earth. There's a good chance that it's going to roll over from the magnetic pole shift and stuff like that. We don't get any of that from Paul. So we got this is one of the big challenges of being careful about allowing your belief to cause you to hate somebody because they don't agree with you. Is we should all have the objective to want to get to the truth, together so that we can enjoy the benefits of knowing the truth. And where we disagree, we just continue to refine our arguments, get better at making an argument or finding the evidence. So like I love this back and forth with Wayne here, because I don't know if Cain was Nephilim or if he was a hybrid genetically. He could have been the offspring of Adam and Eve. One other possibility is after the fall, whatever it was that they did, maybe it wasn't sexual in nature. Maybe it wasn't, breeding with an angel at that point in time, but something spiritual that they did, taking from the tree of knowledge of good and evil could have had an effect on them. Maybe there was a spiritual connection there, that when they did something, that spiritual connection died. Maybe that was the revitalizing spirit within them that renewed them. There's stuff like that we could look into. So yeah, but based on my hypothesis, yes, Cain would be Nephilim if he is the offspring of Gadriel and Eve. So the question we want to find out is, are there giants before the Watchers came down, or any men of renown, or any what else would qualify as Nephilim? Any Nephilim, men of renown, or giants? Yeah. Let's see. I know you question some of Paul's writings, but they are part of the canon. Paul said that sin came through one man, Adam, not through Eve or Cain. So the sin that we all carry originates with Adam, not Cain. Or have I misunderstood the claim that the tainted blood from Gadriel, Cain is the reason? So another valid point. Bug really wants me to eat it. Yes, that's another valid point. So this is why I believe that we actually had a path to be saved, is because Adam didn't directly sin, he was tricked. So his sin led to the Nephilim and the issue with the blood. But he is credit. So yeah, and this is the thing too, is it's like, so if you bring up valid points to valid refutations to my theory. This is one of the reasons why I did the simulation with the Nephilim about the DNA, to where if there was another genetic line introduced into our breeding program, so to speak, then in order for Adam to be affected or to be able to partake, there would have to be female watchers or female angels, watchers, Nephilim. So he would have either had to, mated with female watchers for him to be affected. I don't know, sexually transmitted diseases. I don't know. We're kind of on unknown territory here, but I think you're absolutely right. So the question is how is this accredited to Adam? Which I think there's definitely a legal aspect, and this is one of the things that goes largely misunderstood. Is the reason for the law is because God is a God of systems and rules, and He makes a way to escape. So if you sin, if you disobey, here's what you do to, if you do something to be contaminated, here's what you do to be cleansed from the contamination. So whatever it was that Adam did, there was still a way for it to be cleansed. And it required Jesus. And what's interesting, and this is the whole point that keeps leading me to like a genetic hybrid, is the way to be cleansed required someone to be born of a virgin, right? Which the Jews have issue with this, because they'll say that nothing in the Old Testament indicates that someone had to be born of a virgin in order to cleanse, which I would argue against that, because you have Abraham being told to sacrifice Isaac, and a ram is provided as a replacement for Isaac. which is offered as atonement, and then you have the being unclean, which I learned a whole bunch more with the uncleanliness by listening to the Book of Jubilees. So the reason for the woman being unclean after childbirth, if it's a boy for 40 days, if it's a girl 80 days, according to the Book of Jubilees, that mirrors Adam and Eve being introduced into the garden. So Adam was in the garden 7 days, or he was in the garden for like 40 days before Eve was introduced. So the uncleanness ritual of childbirth mirrors their time in the Garden of Eden, which I think there's a lot of clues there that can actually lead us towards answering some of these questions, like getting a better understanding of what the uncleanliness is and why Jesus was necessary, why he had to come about the way he did in order to make atonement for that sin. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Adam is the one credited with the sin, not Eve or Cain. This is correct. So I have no idea if I answered your question, but if anything, it illustrates that I'm not teaching anything specific. We're exploring the possibilities to try and get to the actual truth. And I absolutely love your questions. Thank you for calling into question any of my presentations. I appreciate it, because this is how we get to good answers. All right, we've been going for 2.5 hours. I think we could probably call it there for the night. Do you guys have any questions in the chat? Let me scroll up here to see what you guys have been saying. Family vacation. Let's see how everybody's perfect. Eve's body was perfect, so maybe the perfection overcame some of the imperfection. Hey, Dr. Lauren. Welcome back. You were missed. Paul is informative in Corinthians, and well, yeah, I mean, trust me, I don't want to. Okay, let me talk about Paul. Yeah, so Paul is informative in Corinthians, Thessalonians, and Ephesians. And as somebody who, the very first scripture I learned was Ephesians 6:1, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise. Trust me, Paul's writings are actually very close to my heart, and I want to believe them. But there are people who call them into question, and they provide good, fair reasoning to call his, Tovia, for instance, can't stand Paul because he has he's supposed to be the rabbi, or no, the Pharisee of Pharisees. And he makes the argument that Paul has zero Pharisaic attributes versus other people in the scripture who have significantly more Pharisee type attributes. So like there's these arguments that call into question Paul that are worth considering. So that's why I make the point that, okay, we don't actually need Paul's writings. And what I mean by Paul's writings is, let's see, I have a list here. If you have the Sefer makes it really clear. Not that it's really clear, because there's a bunch of them that nobody can agree on whether Paul wrote them or not. All right, so these are Paul's writings. 1 Timothy, Titus, 1 Timothy, Titus, 1 and 2 Thessalonians, Romans, Galatians, 2 Timothy, 1 and 2 Corinthians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Philemon, and Hebrews. So there's a lot of books that are associated with Paul. And I'm not saying that there's not valuable information in those books. I grew up on these books. I grew up believing that they were scripture. But when it comes to end times, I can't think of anything in any of these writings that either gives us any vital information to look for, or that that really changes what we were given in the book of Revelation and Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Right now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke and the book of Revelation are where the primary evidence of the end times is coming from. So like Revelation 1 tells us about the 7 churches. That seems to apply to everybody who's looking for the Messiah. Jesus organizes them into 7 categories and says, out of the 7 categories, there's 2 that have no problems. I got no issue with Smyrna or Philadelphia. These 2, hold fast, I'm coming soon. But there's 5, which means, 5 out of 7 have got stuff they got to fix before he returns. So they have things to do. So it's, that's important, right? Knowing what to do before he returns. Also, one of the things that's really important is Revelation 1:1 tells us that God gave Jesus the information about the end times, and he told his disciples. So Jesus is actually credited with the information so that when these things come to pass, we'll believe. And not only will we believe, but it'll prove that he is the Messiah, because he's credited as the one who gave us this information, which ultimately God gave it to us. So God gave it to him who taught his disciples. And then in addition to teaching his disciples, he also sent an angel to signify it to John, the author of the book of Revelation. So that's really important because it's the proof that Jesus is the Messiah. And ultimately, my hope is that it'll win over the Jews who don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. So that's important. We don't get that from any of Paul's writings. We get that from Revelation. And then you got the information to the churches. Here's what you need to do before I return. If you're practicing doctrinal issues, if you have doctrinal issues, knock it off. If you have manipulation and sexual issues, knock it off. If you're lukewarm, get hot, or get therapeutically hot or refreshingly cold, right? Stop just floating by. Just get up and do something, like Elon, get something done, do something. So then you've got Revelation 4, which gives us basically the key on how to identify what to observe, what to pay attention to. Because Revelation 12 gives us a starting point. Like this, Revelations 12:1 and 2 tells us, okay, this is the anchor point. So this is something that'll happen in your day and age so that you'll know the book applies to you. This is one of the things that people have missed throughout the millennia, is they didn't have the actual starting point. They've just been looking for the fulfillment and everything that they could find. That's why you ended up with books of like 88 Reasons Why Jesus Will Return in 1988. But we've got something unique that they never had. Revelations 12:1 and 2, that sign never happens. Or it happens so rare that it basically points to 2017 being as the starting point. Once you have the starting point, then you've got like, this is what the seals are, the seals of information of what to look for. So like all the useful information about the end times is in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Revelation. So I'm not saying that Paul's writings are not truth. And here's the other thing about truth is, even if some of the stuff is fake, if it's still true, truth is truth. So even if a liar and a deceiver write something down, so here's the other thing that you have to take into consideration. So if somebody who's an alcoholic, a drug addict, if you have all the reasons in the world to hate this person, if somebody is just the worst of the worst, Satan himself, if he writes down a recipe for chocolate brownies, the recipe is not necessarily affected by that person. It's still true that if you mix these ingredients together and bake at 350 degrees, you're going to end up with a brownie. So things can still be true even if their origin and their source is questionable. So all of Paul's writings can still contain truth, like children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Yeah, that is a principle that will result in longer life. If you have a respect for your parents, you learn wisdom. So it's not saying that Paul's writings don't contain truth. But in regards to the end times, I'm trying to think, is there anything I can think of? I mean, like, you've got Thessalonians that talks about the man of sin, the son of perdition, which that pairs well with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John about the Antichrist. But it doesn't really change anything for the return of Christ or what to look for. If anything, it causes confusion because everybody seems to try to label everybody else as a frickin' Antichrist. You know what I mean? Anyway, I think you guys get the point, to where I'm not like completely throwing out Paul's writings, but our whole objective, and I think everybody should have this mentality, is our goal should all be to get to the truth together. And even if a book was inserted by, a vicious, evil organization, God can still use that and benefit his people, for those who trust in him and follow him. So even if the writings were not originally intended to be part of the canon, we can still learn from them. But at the same time, we've got to value truth over the canon, because we can't, you can't hold something as true if it causes you to hate your brother. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that happens for real right now, to where there are so many denominations and difference in beliefs based on what we call canon and scripture, that causes division. If everybody would just agree together to seek the truth, I think the world would be a much better place. Like, if we could say, look, you don't agree with me, that doesn't mean I hate you. You know what I mean? Unless, of course, your belief wants to kill me. And this is the problem with Iran, is this is the reason Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Their stated mission is to kill Israel and is to kill the United States and Israel. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't make peace with somebody that their stated mission is to kill you. You have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to protect yourself. Doesn't mean we hate them, but we will take action to defend ourselves. But even that, even if, and this is one of the cool things for the way that Donald Trump has been handling Iran, is he's trying to protect the people, because the people of Iran are really cool. It's just their leaders are a bunch of idiots that want to kill the West. The death to the West, death to Israel. So there you go. I think you guys get the point. I'm not like anti-Paul. There's some people that are so anti-Paul that call him the Antichrist and blame him for all the problems in the world. Yeah, I'm not really in that boat. All I really care about is getting to the truth. I want to know, I want to know my God better, and I want to please him. Really. That's at the end of the day, that's all I really care about. Is I want to know my God better. I want to know his will better so that I can make him happy. And then in doing that, will ultimately make other people happy. We'll make each other happy. And that's probably where we should leave it, is, what can we do to know our God and know his will so that we can please him? So, if you guys like this content, if you're new here, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you get notifications. We typically go live Monday through Friday at 4:30, unless there's extenuating circumstances. Yesterday, I was on the road. I'd actually fully intended to come on and do the show yesterday, but we got so delayed with preparations that we just literally ended up on the road at the time we were going to do the show. So I didn't get the opportunity to do the show yesterday. I was going to do a show on the road. You guys were going to get a treat. I was going to do it in the car. But I was in the car at the time, so we opted to just cancel it. So anyway, we typically go live Monday through Friday at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for joining us. See you again tomorrow. God bless you guys. Shalom, shalom.